Right, hey guys, this is an impromptu podcast, and I'm here with a very successful dating and life coach, and a very proud call to make my friend, Johnny Berba, and we're just basically just having a normal conversation, just kicking back, just talking about what comes to mind, specifically fear of success, and hopefully you guys will get some good nuggets of information through our conversation. So what do you reckon, Johnny?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Paul. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, and one that everyone can relate to. It's something that, personally, for me, I always think about because it's so relevant for people's lives, whatever field you're in, whether it's trying to meet women, whether it's trying to improve as a man or as a person. And it was exciting for me when I first kind of realised the concept of the fear of success, because for me, the first thing I was usually afraid of was the fear of failure. But because I've inquired quite a lot into personal development in my own life and helping others, I realised that they're kind of very similar, if not same, if not separable, in the sense that when we're afraid to fail, we're also afraid to succeed. Because, you know, the fear of not getting something can be as scary as actually getting it, but also not knowing what to do with it. So hence, an attractive woman, a woman we perceive that is out of our league, or anything that's of value for us in our life. Not getting it is frightening, but I think getting it and not being ready for it is even more frightening. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I can definitely resonate with that through my own experiences, and it's just through really doing it and breaking through that fear is when I started to see results and really grow. Now, obviously, you and I have talked quite a bit, and we know each other's sort of backstory, and I know a lot of people who sort of follow you know your backstory. But just for the sake of the people, the listeners who don't really know you, can you just summarise just quickly your backstory, just so people can understand the place that you're coming from?
Yeah, well, I'll try and keep it brief, but I think my story is it's one that is kind of similar with anyone who's struggled with social anxiety or any sort of form of depression or social phobia, anyone who's not been happy. So to make it quick, my story basically was being a young boy at school, sort of in my teens. Are we still on?
Yeah.
Always feeling nervous around large groups of people. Always feeling intimidated around girls, always feeling there was a problem, but I didn't quite understand at the time, and that led to a lot of frustration. Getting bullied at school didn't help as well, which led me to become quite angry, lash out, get very defensive, just very insecure, if I'm being honest at the time. That led to going off track in life, getting in trouble with the police for drug dealing. Just sort of going on a sort of downward path, but luckily having good family, good friends around me, I was able to make massive changes, and I think those changes come when I just sort of had enough, got depressed, and to kind of wrap it up. By age 21, I was still a virgin. I'd never slept with a girl. At 16, I'd had an experience with a girl where I couldn't actually sleep with her. I got too nervous. That kind of fucked me up for many years. Hence why I was a virgin till 21. I slept with a prostitute at 21, and that sort of really put me on the path to inquiring into the whole world of dating and getting good with women. And that was really, by age 22, that was when I'd met someone down the gym, a friend of mine, Floyd. A lot of people around me, my friends, were on a path to improve. They were buying books on seduction, pickup. So I was really around people that had kind of had enough of being in a disposition in life, not really having a path, not working, not really having success with women. So I just started to get curious and inquire, and that's when I started to see changes happen. It wasn't an easy path. It took quite a few years, but from sort of age 2 to 25, massive changes, and then I sort of got involved in going out, practicing on the streets, getting good with women. It took a long time. So when I say to guys I've been doing this for 10 years, I wasn't good for 10 years. I've probably been good for the last 3 or 4 years. But it was just, making massive changes in every area of life. That from, moving out of a shithole flat, with hardly no electric and rats running around, being on the dole on job seekers allowance, to setting up my own business, becoming my own boss. building good relationship with family again, building good relationship with friends. So it's just massive changes, and that was all from deciding one day, I've had enough living like this, I want to do something about it. And using the medium of women actually improved every area of my life. So, and then it just went from being inspired by other people, reading books, reading their story. But the true stuff really happened when I started going out on the street, making these changes, which was a slow, linear process, but eventually it got me there. And I'm here now, and I've been teaching for 3 years. And that's really it. If I've missed anything, I probably have missed some stuff, but that's really my story. That's just comes from a lot of anxiety and wanting to improve. So
I mean, I remember when I first met you, what really gravitated you to me when I did was you were basically very honest, as you've just been honest to me right now, and also to the listeners out there.
Yeah.
You've pretty much, in that short space of time, you're just holding no punches, holding back nothing, really.
Yeah.
And for me, because you've been very honest, and what I think is, a lot of people are afraid to be honest with themselves, and because they're afraid to be honest with themselves, that holds them back. And I believe it is the first step you've got to conquer in order to really conquer the failure of success.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do apologise. I mean, conquer the fear of failure success.
I get your question, Paul.
Yes.
That's a really nice one. What you were saying to me was, and I totally get it, and the viewers will probably understand this, or maybe they won't, this will help them. We kind of have to have I think we have to have the confidence to be honest with people.
Yeah.
Because it's very frightening to be honest, but as you said, we need to be honest to ourselves. And for me, looking back, I wasn't completely honest at the time, not because I was a dishonest person, just because I was afraid and I just followed everyone else. Who the people that were around me at the time, they wasn't fully honest too, and again, they weren't bad people, they were just afraid. So sometimes we need a little bit of outside validation. We need people to say it's okay, I love you as you are, and it's okay to be honest. And once we get that pat on the back, we can kind of feel more comfortable to open up and to express ourselves. But I found where I got the honesty from was, I've always come from an honest family, which most people have. So I always had that nice grounding. But my environment, my school, what I was around a lot of dishonesty, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of fear, a lot of people who are poor. And I think when people are poor, it's hard, isn't it? Because you're not in a good place for obvious reasons, and you don't want people to take advantage of you, especially if you've been bullied. So by not being honest, you're protecting yourself, you're putting a barrier up, and it almost creates a different identity, one that you can get through the world without risking further pain. But what I realised was, by staying in that body, as Eckhart Tolle said, it was like I was in a pain body and I had enough. And talking to enough women made me realise honesty is the way forward. When you're honest, you'll attract the right people in your life. You'll lose the ones that are not meant to you'll be around, which is fine. And it just feels so much more free. And I found through being honest, if I interact with people, I can help them to be more honest as well. Because, like attracts like. And it is in line with these things like the fear of success, the fear of failure. And I like what you said, Paul, so I've gone off on one a bit. If we can be honest with ourselves, number one, it's very easy to be honest with other people. But if we lie to ourselves, then we tend to lie to others.
Mm-hmm. And as I just mentioned earlier on, that you are a very experienced dating and life coach.
Indeed.
Yep. And you've obviously you've coached a lot of men in this sort of area. And when you're kind of like meeting them for the first time, I suspect those are the sort of areas that you've had to kind of deal with and address, the way they kind of like are afraid to really be honest with themselves and really afraid to take the first steps.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say, another new potential student was to come up to you right now, like what are the sort of like common types of traits would you expect from someone like that? And, how would you deal with?
Well, the common traits I can expect, without being stereotypical or judgmental, because I'm none of those things, and I'm not being that way. It's really me 8 years ago, and the sort of characteristics is socially awkward, lacking self-belief, just very nervous. But really decent, lovely guys like myself, like how I was, just young men or older men that are just a little bit lost and just need to find themselves. So, but on the other side to that, I do get guys that are also confident as well, that are socially more confident than I am, and they're in, you know, successful careers, but they're lacking congruency with women. They don't fully trust themselves in the fact that they don't know how to speak their mind, and they don't know how to fully relate to a woman. So it's catering for two types of students. But yeah, it's all the same. At the end of the day, everyone's got fears that need to be addressed if they want to get to where they want to get to. And I'm able to identify that, having gone through, you know, the transformation myself, and having taught loads of guys, it just becomes something that's very natural for me to help people and to make them feel comfortable with me as well, and then they can feel comfortable with themselves, and then we can start working towards being comfortable with women.
That's what it's all.
It goes from there.
That's
being comfortable in yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, if they're comfortable with you, they'll be confident themselves, and sometimes it works vice versa as well.
Exactly. And I learn from them as well. I don't think people fail to realise that when you teach someone, yes, you teach and you are an expert, but you're not God, you don't know everything, and you're learning from the student, because the student is working wonders for you, because he's confirming that what you're doing is working. And it's that exchange, it's that exchanging connection, it's that relationship teacher-student. And it's in all the films. It's something that's nice, and it's a growth for both people. And I think if it's not like that, then it's not working. It's not right.
Yeah.
So that's why I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's something that comes natural for me.
I'll tell you also something else is you obviously know it's no secret that I am a fan of your videos. I'm a fan of the work that you do.
That's really kind of you, Paul.
And you know, just relating back to the whole kind of thing about people who are afraid of failure and afraid of taking the first steps. What else I admire about you is not only your honesty, but your patience, your degree of understanding. So an example would be like when you're putting out these YouTube videos, it's inevitable, and I've noticed this, that there's always a lot of naysayers.
Yeah.
That no doubt you come across, and a lot of naysayers on sort of the videos and things that you put out, which I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because it's a very, very new, very sort of innovative, the right word, would you say?
Yeah.
Innovative sort of thing that you're doing, and you know, you are going to get people who don't believe in it, and I just really admire the way you handle the sort of naysayers. And so would you say that the place that where they're coming from, the critics, are they coming from a place of fear, a place of sort of fear in themselves, kind of like imposing their kind of issues onto yourself just to make them feel better?
Well, I'll answer the question in two parts, because one, in regards to criticism, it's I've done it. I've criticised before, so I've got no right, you know, to complain that some people may criticise my videos, because at the end of the day, you're putting stuff out on YouTube. People are entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
However, I would say there's different forms of criticism. There's healthy criticism, which I really like, and it really helps me to improve my content when people are generally giving you feedback. But there's also criticism for the sake of criticism, which is where it's just people projecting their insecurities onto you and their anger. They're really speaking to themselves out loud. But again, that's fine. It's something I accept. There's a part of me that could allow myself to get mad and fire back, but that ain't going to do any good. At the end of the day, my videos are still going to go out, whether people love it or hate it. Thankfully, a lot of people love my stuff. It will help the people it needs to. And also the critics who hate it play a part, because without them commenting on videos, I would just have empty videos and no comments. And that would be kind of alarming, wouldn't it? So as Oscar Wilde said, all news is good news. But I think if I was to help someone, I would say, before you criticise, just think about what you're doing. Where is it coming from? Is it valid? Because you're probably talking to yourself, and you could probably take that energy and use it to something positive and improve yourself. But yeah, people are free to have their opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's free to express themselves in any way, shape or form that they wish to. I mean, I myself...
I criticise my work too. I'm the biggest critic anyway. So if anyone criticises their stuff, it's me anyway. So
yeah, that's very true. I think everybody is their own worst critic, really. I mean, I remember you said the other week something about the inner critic in your mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know, some people who attend your lecture, really took that to heart. I know I myself did. So just for the sake of the listeners, would you be able to just briefly elaborate on the inner critic?
Yeah. The inner critic is basically that voice that we all have in our head that tells us that we can't do something, we're not good enough, we're not tall enough, we're not big enough, we don't have enough money, we're not attractive enough. It's that, interference. So that inner voice, and I'm not God, I don't fully know what it is. I mean, some people say it's society, it's conditioning, it's upbringing. I think it's a combination of all those things, but all I know is that we can negotiate with that inner critic. We can bypass that, or even, work with it and still achieve the things we want. And it's about what I learned from Eckhart Tolle the other week. I was listening to his stuff. It's about when a thought comes up, catching it, observing it, but not identifying with it. And that's what I do when I get in a dialogue that's negative or it tries to throw me off guard. And I think it's a good thing as well, because if it wasn't for the inner critic, I would never have been able to create the things I've done and achieve the things I have. So I just want to tell people that it's alright to be human, and it's if you didn't have the inner critic, you would be worried. It's just part of being human. It's just the way we manage it. So yeah, it's something we have to address, and that's done through movement. When I say movement, I mean taking action. In a sense, taking action could be someone just going on their laptop and looking at a positive video. It doesn't have to be my video. That could be taking action for them. The next step could be to go out of the house and go for a walk down the street. For someone else, that might not be enough. They might have to go for the kiss of a girl. For someone else, they might have to make a bigger business proposal. So whatever it is to you, whatever you need to do to step your game up, then go for it. And worrying about failing, that's inevitable. We're all going to fail to some extent. That's why we're going to be successful, or that's why we're not going to be successful. So yeah.
And you mentioned the way you explained it. You mentioned it in the context of dating, relationships, getting with women, but you also explained it in the context of business.
Yes.
Now, clearly, I'm in agreement, and just for you to elaborate, you believe these types of skill sets, they very, very transferable into these different contexts.
Definitely, Paul. And like you said, we were having a chat earlier before the podcast, and I was just saying that business is something that I love. Not just because when people think of business, they just think, business and money. But I love the learning of business. I love it as a teacher, what it teaches you. And as you said, getting good with women, in a sense, is no different between running a successful business or getting good in business, because the same principles are universal. It's hard work, it's an understanding, it's applying yourself, it's being true to yourself, it's resonating with people, it's sometimes you don't resonate, it's failing, it's succeeding. It's all those psychological loops or patterns that we have to go through to get where we want to get to. So the way I see it is, if you get good with women, because I know what it takes to get the women, it's a lot of fucking work. You can most definitely get good in business. However, having said that, some people have got a natural bias towards certain things. Like some men are naturally more better with women. Yes, some people are naturally better at business, but that doesn't mean you can't get good at it. So yes, for me, getting good at women, it's not just about getting laid and getting good at women. It's that, and it used to be that. It's improving on all areas. And again, that's different to the individual. But I don't know anyone that wouldn't want to have a successful business, wouldn't want to have a nice woman beside them and enjoy their life. So it all fits into a puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, what I find quite funny now, which I was very, very guilty of in the past, is, let's take the context of dating relationships and getting with someone. You always have to think, you can't do it unless the stars align, unless the situation is right, it's perfect. You and I know that's not true, because there's never ever going to be a perfect time. The stars are never going to align. If you see something that you want it, you just got to go out and do it.
Well, that's a great point, Paul. Let's take your analogy, right? As you said, there's never a perfect time. You're coming from work, Paul, you've had a whole day in the office or wherever, you're knackered, you're about to get on the train, you see a really attractive girl you like, she's just your type, you haven't seen a girl like this in ages, but you don't approach her because you say, I'm tired, I just finished work, what's the point? So at the end of the day, there's never a right time. We have to create the right time, and probably more windows of opportunities will come along, but nothing happens through sitting on our ass. And these things are really simple, but people don't apply them. They know it, most people know everything, but they apply very little of it. So movement, taking action is where you really will grow as a person, as a man, in any area, whether it's women and dating, whether it's success, whether it's business. And, failure is your teacher, you've got to go forward. You've got to confront your fears.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I do think failure is a great teacher. In fact, I had mentioned this in my previous podcast, that I used to perceive failure as something that's really negative, something that you should really avoid. But really, failure is a positive thing. I welcome failure. I embrace failure with open arms.
Well, there you go. It's you've had a shift in the way you think to think like that, because as you said, years ago you wouldn't have thought like that. You would have thought like the majority of people in society that think because you fail you're no good at something or you're rubbish at it, which is not true. Success is an accumulation of thousands of failures put right. It's just all these things have been said over and over again. It's just coming from different people, different expressions, but it's the same meaning. So whether it's fear of success or it's fear of failure, just fuck it, just fail your way to success, like Les Brown says. Just go for it, enjoy it, and make it fun.
Absolutely. And we both hear other podcasts, and we do YouTube videos all the time saying go out and do it, go out and get this, you'll achieve success and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is I want to show that we actually mean what we say, we practice what we preach. Yeah. So very similar to the last podcast that I did, I'm hoping that this podcast that you're listening to right now is something that is our example that we're giving you to say that, yep, you can't, just go through try to work past the fear of failure, to apologise, and then just go and do it. Now, this podcast, it's impromptu, it's unscripted. We only just planned it literally a few seconds before we actually recorded this.
I think sometimes.
Exactly, and as you guys can listen to right now, it's not optimal. The sound quality is not optimal, but obviously it's unedited, it's natural. But we're doing it. We're doing it right now, and we're using this as something that hopefully you guys can use and learn from to springboard yourselves into what other projects that you want to do. So really, no excuses, is there, Johnny?
No, there's no excuses, and it doesn't really matter, Paul, what form the message comes in, as long as it's something that's true and people can apply it, and it can move people. Because I think that's what everyone's looking for. I know when I was in a bad place, we need inspiration. We need a pat on the back. We need a hug, and we need to be told that it's all right. We can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's afraid to start out raw and unpolished. I was definitely afraid to start out raw and unpolished. You see, when I start out, I'm never going to have all the answers to everything. When someone's going to ask me a question about, the project that I'm doing, I can't guarantee I'm going to know the answer. But what I can guarantee is that at some point, somewhere down the line, I will know the answer, and I'll be using those new nuggets and new snippets of knowledge to kind of progress and sort of build from there to there. And clearly, Johnny, you share the same philosophy as I do.
Yeah, as you said, it's no one knows everything, Paul. As you said, we have to learn along the way as we go. And maybe I was going to say, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, we do just have to learn as we go along. And I think people again get stuck in the mindset they should know everything. They should be an expert in something before they've even dabbled in it. But no, that's not true. That's not practical. It's not reality. We learn as we go along, and we learn through movement, through doing it, and not talking about it too much. Great to the podcast, but don't get into a habit of just theory, because the practical, it needs to be done.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I can talk all day if you like, but obviously we haven't got all day. I can add more. Sort of add anything else, I would say if the guys have got any fears, whether it's the fear of success, fear of failure, they need to really inquire into it. Because I remember when I'm teaching, I always get the student, if something's bothering or frightens him, to inquire. And most times when you inquire into a fear, you find that you solve it. You really dig into it. You chip away at it, and then it's almost like you revise the fear. You start practicing with it, and it becomes less fearful. Like, for example, going out and approaching a woman for the first time. If you really get down to it and go, look, I'm not going to lose limbs. She's not going to hurt me. It's not like I'm never going to be able to talk to another woman again if she rejects me or if she's got a boyfriend. It really isn't a big deal. Just doing it is success, no matter what happens. Your brain goes, yeah, what am I worried about? You do it and then think, yeah, that went too bad, and then you get inspired to do more. So just do it, just approach whatever is frightening you. But I will add as well, last thing, we need to approach things at a pace we can handle. Now, I'm not telling people to straight away go and set a business up. They can do that if they want, or go out and try and approach 10 models. I'm just saying get started, even if it's at a small pace, and those little steps will amount up into big things.
Yep, and obviously what he's saying, there's a lot of credibility to it. Like I mentioned, I've spoken to you a number of times. We've become really good friends along the way. I really do believe in what you're saying, and hope you guys bear in mind that I'm the sort of person who I like to tell the truth. I like to kind of bring the truth to the people, and if there's anything that I think is complete rubbish, nonsense, BS, I'll call it out. And really, just speaking to Johnny, I think a lot of the stuff he says is incredibly, very inspiring, very informative. I've certainly learned a lot from speaking to you. And I know that you like to work with a lot of clients who have anxieties or any type of problem with dating relationships. So for the sake of listeners at home, please talk about these services that you like to offer. So, if anybody interested, they can contact you.
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach me, they can just go to my website. It's www.johnnyberba.com. So that's www.johnnyberba.com. And check me out on YouTube. Just Google me and check out my stuff on YouTube. And that's the best way to find me.
Fantastic. So you guys feel free to contact Johnny, and if there's anything that you want to sort of add and discuss, then feel free to send a message to either myself or Johnny, and then we're happy to really address that. And I'm more than happy to really provide more details and give more of a recommendation. I can't recommend him enough.
Thanks a lot, Paul, and thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, mate. Cheers.
No worries, man. No worries. Take care, guys.
Awesome, mate. Bye.